Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Miyuki and this is Let's Make Art, and we letter together a new project every week. And this one we are experimenting and we're going to be lettering on an acrylic sheet, or as Keenan calls it,
a glass pane project.
A glass pane project. That's what he wrote the title for the video. This is what we're doing, so you'll notice it's very different. It's not paper, it's a little bit thicker. This is the quote that we're doing. And this is, if you don't have our fall box, you can actually get this as a kit. So you can still join along. This would be a perfect holiday project. But I'm so excited to teach you guys this. The different supplies that we're using. So like I said, the acrylic sheet, so it comes blank. If you either get our kit or in our box, I'll explain why this looks a little bit different than this in the steps. So this is the first supply, is the acrylic sheet. You can also get them smaller maybe if you like, but essentially just thick plastic. The pens, so we aren't going to be using Crayola Super Tips. What we're actually going to be using is a paint pen. So I'm using the Posca white paint pen. I'll just do this for fun. Ghost white again.
Ghost white?
Can you see it?
No, I can't see it.
So I'm using a white paint pen. We can just go like this. And then you'll notice the blue is a little bit different, and so we're going to be using blue acrylic paint. You can use, I'm trying to think what else. If you want to use gouache, you still can if you might have gouache, but I just like to use acrylic paint because it's just a sweet wash. We actually have different colors on our site.
Yes, we do.
Different shades, greens,
yes,
blues, reds, blacks. If you want to change it up and you don't want to do blue, you can get different colors. So have that. I'm going to be using a wide brush to be able to do the wash. And then I think we're good to go. So those are the supplies. The steps, I should keep this, there are 5 steps. Step 1. This is a practice worksheet that if you don't have this, go to our website at letsmakeart.com, get it for free to help you get started. We're going to be doing thumbnail sketches, so I'm going to go through that. Step 2 is the layout, so you'll notice this is a similar layout that I created to help give you a jump start. That's step 2. Step 3 is I'm going to show you the white paint pens and how to do that. And then step 4 is I'm going to show you the acrylic and how to paint, because you'll notice it's actually painted on the back. So those are the 4 steps. Oh, 5, display it. This is a fun thing that you can display in your home that I'm excited for you all to create. Okay. So the quote, Keenan, can you read the quote?
I feel that there is nothing more truly artistic than to love people. Vincent van Gogh.
Oh, I forgot a period. Up for debate.
Yeah.
So this is a quote that it's really cool because we're all artists here and we're all community that's coming together, and I thought this would be a great one I associate with this. So you can follow along and do the same quote with me, or if you have another one that you resonate with, please go ahead and do that. But for this first stage, so we have this big project, and so when you have especially a long quote, you might not know right off the bat how you want to lay this out. So thumbnail sketches are a great way to get all those ideas out in practice. So what you want to do with this is experiment. The first thing you can think about is experiment with the amount of lines that you're using. So if this is my quote, I might pretend I didn't do this yet. So what I do is I'd write the quote at the top. I feel that there is nothing. This is my handwriting. Tell me if you can read it. Yeah, this is a long quote. Okay, so what you can experiment with is let's just try what if which probably won't work, what if every single word had its own line, etc., etc. I don't think that will work because it's not tall enough. So then I think, okay, let's just try the first couple words on a line. And when you're doing this, you also can decide Do you want this to be horizontal or do you want it to be vertical? Then to love people. So this is what I think I actually ended up doing. Yeah. So I just naturally did that because I realized when I wrote it, I just ran out of room. So I just naturally went to the next line. You can also experiment. Maybe you draw it at an angle. So when you're doing it, you sketch it out and see, does it work? That's at an angle. That is how you experiment and figure out your layout. Another way that you can approach it is, are there any words that you want to emphasize? So when you read your quote, whatever it is there any word that pops out or you want to make it more emphasized? So you can do that by either making it a lot bigger or making it taller, or if you have different colors, maybe you have a different color paint pen, you can make it a different color. Or there's a lot of different ors, or you can make it a different style. So if you're looking at this, what I did was I made all of them my cursive style script lettering, but then artistic, I wanted to make it a little bit more artistic and a little more free-flowing. So I didn't make it as perfectly script as everything else. So that created a little bit of different variance without feeling so out of the loop that it didn't really flow. So when you're doing this, if you have that one word, so I'm gonna say that one word is artistic. So I take this, if I decided I filled this whole sheet and I realized I like this layout, then I'm gonna think about style of lettering. So then I'm gonna actually go a little bit slower. And these are, the initial steps are quick sketches, and that's why they're called thumbnail sketches, because they're small. They're not meant to be so perfect. So I'm gonna try and see if I like it where it's all, I wrote this wrong. I feel there's nothing, have truly, more truly. So I'm going to, play with that. Then to, okay. So that is my very quick basic sketch. If you want to pause, you can do this on your own and go through and fill it all in. But those are ways that you can experiment with the layout because you don't have to do this exact layout. Then step 2 is the next step, what I did was I created this for you guys. So this is an outline. It's a little bit smaller. That's okay. That's so weird. When I made it, it was the right size. But, oh, maybe this is a different, talking to myself. This is just the same size as it. And so why I did that was because now we're going to blow it up and make your quote a lot bigger. So then when we go to this, we can just trace. So that is actually the trick. A lot of times when you see something, you think that someone just free-handed that, and so you feel intimidated to even start. And I hope that being here with Let's Make Art, you feel comfortable. But then second on top of that is by breaking it down into these steps, I want you to know that you can do this, and there are ways that you can do this. So this trick is creating the entire template, which I've done before, but this is because we're literally going to trace this because you'll see that this is see-through. So I'm going to take my time and I'm going to use my pencil and I'm going to sketch out my lettering. And when you're doing this, if it's not centered, if you do want it centered, let's say for example, I did this and I realized, okay, that's off center. It's okay to erase. This is your time to figure it out. Don't stress about it. Might be handy to have a bigger eraser than I have. So what I need to do then is, because of that, I just need to make my letters a little bit more squished so it fits. Is that dark enough?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So what I did is I did my script lettering, but like I said, if you want to do this maybe in your block style or mix it up, you totally can. And while I have this, let me erase this so you guys can see. As you are doing this, take the time to pause. And what I mean by that is we go really fast and we just think, okay, this is the way I write. I don't know what I can do about it. And so what I challenge you is to think about is when you're designing this quote, you'll notice that I crossed this T just straight like that. I crossed this T straight like that, but then I actually curved this one. And I didn't curve this one because I want to show you is T's are a perfect time to have fun, whether that's adding a curl to it, or what my eye sees is I see this negative space that's above the NO. So because of that, I'm going to curl it and I'm going to fill in that space and do that. So if I think about it, I'm going to do the same thing here. So instead of having just this short notch, what if I mimic this same shape and I fill it in like that? So it just adds a little bit of personality to your lettering that you can do. And if you look, so I'm also looking at what I did here that I want to call out. The TH connection is another time that you can have fun with. So cursive is technically, or script lettering is where all letters are combined together. And the reason why is because you wanted to draw it really fast. But we're not doing that. We're creating your own modern lettering where you can break the rules. And so what I want to do is I want to show you that I did this naturally because that's how I naturally connect it. But what if I broke this apart and I see that there's a loop, but what if I draw that line there so it's just not connected? And then on this one, I saw this negative space. So I thought, what if I fill it like that, come down, and then I'm still going to have the same loop that I had before, but it's just going to come from the connection of the T and then come across like that. So the same thing here if I do that one more time. Erase that. So like that, I'm going to curve this. So I'm going to connect it right here. So you don't have to do this, but it's another way that you can just create another loop or personality to it. I realized that on this one, if you guys can see again, I just had my T had a straight stop right there, but on this one, it had a little curl at the end. So they all don't need to be the same. Okay, with that said, the last thing that I wanted to show before I'll just go quickly through this, is thinking about the ends of the letters. So another opportunity, Keenan, looking at the ends of the letters, is there an opportunity that you see that I can curl or add a flourish to the end?
Let's say the G at the end of thing.
Yeah. So I ended it naturally just like that because that's how I usually end that. However, what I can do is I also see this space right here. So I'm going to curl that up into there. And so this is why this is something that I wouldn't have known without taking a step back and assessing and seeing what I'm working with. Because if no word has, I'm trying to think what word it could be, but if the TH, for example, was right here, I wouldn't have that room because these letters are higher. So because these letters are lower, it creates this space for you to fill it. So those are the different ways you can think about it. We can fast forward while I draw out the rest of my quote. Okay, so I finished that and I wanted to show you guys there was a few, I'm trying to think if there were a few. I know there was one. Oh, there was two because Keenan brought something up. There were two teaching moments I wanted to talk about. So one was if you're looking right here, my Y descends, which means it goes lower than this line. So it descends into my next word when I was writing it out. So I was trying to figure out how to fix that. And so if you want, you can leave it, but because this is just my layout, I have the opportunity to erase it and try and fix it. And so what I thought is instead of making all of these letters naturally be at the same height, what if I mix it up so that it's okay that this Y comes so low, and maybe this is smaller and this is a lot bigger. This is smaller and this goes right here. So it doesn't feel as perfect, which will help the eye not associate this as a sore spot, essentially.
I didn't notice that on the finished project until you just pointed that out.
That these are at different heights?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting.
That's the beauty of it, is that, and why lettering's a little bit different is because there's little changes that you can make that will help. That's why when you look at, when you look at something and you don't know why it looks good, and then when you break it down, you realize there was some thought into it.
Yeah.
That's completely what lettering can be. The other teaching point that Keenan had mentioned was, in addition to his suggestion of coming up high at the end, he thought you can extend, and tell me this is what you're saying, where the G can extend like that, or be a loop. Is that what you're thinking?
Yep.
But what we realized is that on the next line, this L was so high, so it cuts it off. So we can't do that exactly, but if you want to fill in this space, we could do something where, without it getting a little wonky, kind of have the loop of it curve into it.
Nice.
Yeah, that still looks like a G. So that's a way, if you want to fill that space, that you can do that. Okay, that is step 2. Now, if you have scissors, you can either cut this out, but I am not going to do that actually. Okay, ignore that I said that. I'm going to go to the next step, which is, I'm going to combine these. Okay. I'm going to show you is that this is your acrylic sheet. If you got this either in your box or in our kit, you probably thought it was dirty. Well, fake out.
Fake out.
There's a film, and it was to protect it. And there's 2, I believe.
Lots of reflections.
I'm sorry. So there's a film that you can take off. So
For filming, it would have been really convenient if you left the film on. Oh. But for the project, it would be really difficult.
Yeah, well, it looks very good.
Challenge accepted?
Too late. That is preparing that. I'm going to leave that right there for now. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. But I also need to show you, so that's how to prepare that, but now I need to prepare the paint pen. I have a colored sheet of paper so you can see this. So paint pens, whoa! Oh, I forgot. So the cool thing about these is that they are double, wow, this is a cool teaching moment. That was very accidental. These are double-sided. So you can take it out. I've actually never done it, and I don't know why that accidentally did that. Oh, let's see if this works. Okay, so what I was gonna show is, can they see that?
Yep.
This is before. We can add a text before and after. So it comes like this, where it is a little bit off-white color, can't draw. Whereas this is the final project, final piece. I've used this a lot, but that's good to go. So to prepare it, what you need to do is you need to shake it for, let's say 10 seconds.
The old shake weight.
Shake it, and you can hear a ball. So think of this like a spray paint can, and there's a ball inside. So this is like a mini spray paint can. So there's paint in here. Can they still hear me while I shake?
Yeah.
I didn't want to be annoying, probably annoying. There's paint inside that you're mixing around, and so you need to get it prepared, mix it around, and then it still looks the same, but what we're going to do is we're going to press. Can they see this? This is on the side angle.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just going to hold and press into it. You can pump a few times maybe, but don't go too crazy. But what it's doing is it's putting pressure. I don't know the science behind it. It's putting the pressure.
Releasing the pressure from inside the little canister to come outside.
Which makes sense, because on a spray can you press, yeah. It's hard to see, but it's starting to slowly come out. It's still not, it's kind of coming out. So I just need to hold it a little bit more. If yours doesn't work, maybe shake it a few more seconds and then go back. There we go. Now we're good to go. I might try and shake it just to make sure I'm getting, yeah. So the difference was that this was just a little bit more transparent. I just wanted to make sure I got all the ink through the tip. So that's how you start the pen. Now that I have my, some eraser marks, this guy ready. It's gonna get fingerprints on it. I realized you can just use Windex. Then, wow, these are
You could use gloves.
Annoying.
Like
yeah,
latex gloves.
Do we have any?
No.
Meh. It's all good. Fingerprints are part of the
art.
Okay.
Your signature could be your fingerprint from the paint pen.
I love it. We're trying to avoid glare. Okay.
There are too many lights in here to not get.
Well, so what we are doing is we are taping, literally taping your template to the back. So I'm just going to line it up. I'm looking at the outer line. And is that good?
That one's fine.
Okay.
That one's great.
So I'm just going to tape. So this is just blue painter's tape.
What if you trim the paper first?
Well, that's what I was thinking, but the paper, that's why I said scissors in the beginning, and then I told myself, or I switched it, because the outline is a little bit smaller than your glass, but what you can do is just fold it. I can't do this at an angle, sorry.
You're fine. There's no glare right there.
It's called making it work. There we go. It looks a little funky. Doesn't matter? Meh.
Nope.
This is the real life process.
Here's just a suggestion.
Yeah, there's probably way people you can comment and tell me, like, Nicole, you should have done it this way. I will gladly accept it. Please tell me.
It might have been easier to put the tape on the paper and pull the tape with the paper over the edge. You know what I mean? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean.
Either way it works.
So. Yeah, so put the tape, yeah. Yeah. It works.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
That's why it's not a big deal.
The whole point is you can see through. It's clear. And guess what? All we have to do now is trace. And so the reason at home you don't need something here, but like Keenan and I said, we're trying to give you guys the best viewing experience possible.
Minimize the glare.
So I'm going to make sure, sometimes if you leave your pen out a little bit too long, it might get a little dried out, so I need to re-give it some juice. Maybe pump it a few times. Game on. Okay, I am simply tracing, and my head might get in the way because I kind of have to look over it. Because if we'll try.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm gonna move the side cam.
Okay.
So you can really see all that part.
So I am just tracing over my pencil lines. And the paint pens, the paint it glides off really beautifully. If you're trying to troubleshoot and you're at home and it's not gliding, try and reshake it, maybe repump it just a few, and get it going, because you'll see how smooth that is as it's coming off of my pen. I'm also not pressing very hard. So I'm more gliding actually rather than pushing into this acrylic sheet. Like that. So as you're doing this, when looking at this, the line weight. So naturally, oh, I forgot to say, this is the 3M, the bullet shaped ones. There's different sizes. So if you want to get a different, there's smaller sizes and there's bigger sizes. This was just a good size for all the projects that we're doing, and I really like this size because I can still get this thinner line, and if I want to, I always say this, if you want to beef it up and make it a little bit thicker, you can, and to do that is the foligraphy that we've been doing. And so I'm going to talk to you for a second and tell you that this is why foligraphy is something that is really great for you to know and just have in your arsenal, whether you like it or not, because I know if you like the brush lettering style, you might be more used to that, and so the Crayola super tips aren't really your thing, which is totally okay. But it's helpful to know foligraphy and understand that, because for instances like this, as far as I know of, and I believe, because I've looked, there aren't any brush paint pens. And so this is kind of what we need to work with. And so you need to make things work depending on what medium or what surface you're lettering on. So because I can't use Tombow dual brush pens, for example, on this acrylic because it'll just rub right off, paint pens are great because it's paint and it's essentially sitting on top of the acrylic sheet. And so it doesn't mess up and blend into it. So that is why I'm teaching this, and it's a great, not only is this a great tool, but it's a great style to have in your arsenal of lettering. So with my little spiel over, what we're doing is I did this as one stroke, and now I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to add a line right there and color that in. I'm not sure how that's visible to everyone else. But, so this is thick on the down, so I'm going to make this thicker. And the cool thing about this is that you can dictate how thick you want this to be. Maybe you just want a little bit thicker line. So let's say I just kind of add a line right next to it. So I'm not actually making it a lot thicker, it's just creating that variance between the thick and the thin lines.
You know what would have been interesting?
Yeah.
Is if you had done the printout with black paper, because then you could see and use like white lettering behind it, or a white pen, or the gold gel pen or something. That would have been sweet.
Just to be able to see it.
Just so you can see it a little better.
Yeah, because
I may just be thinking about me and the camera, but I think it would also look really cool.
That's a really cool idea.
Finished.
I like it. I was gonna say that if you can, Keenan, can they see that? That L, the part of the L? Yep. It kind of went away. Mm-hmm. So the thing also when you are doing foligraphy and if you're adding over it, the interesting part about these pens is that when I go over it, sometimes you might pick up actually what you did. Can they see that? So.
Oh yes.
Need to get more juice. Oh, that might happen too. So see how it exploded? I'm glad this is happening. It kind of exploded. It's okay. This is why all my clothes have paint dots on them. So to remedy that, you can just go back over it. And so, but what's different about than the first time I did it is I am really, really slightly, lightly grazing. Rather than here, I'm kind of, now it's not going to happen because I'm going to ask it to. See, it doesn't happen all the time. It's instead of scraping, and it'll happen at random points, but instead of scraping, I'm just grazing over this to color it in. Yeah, it's not going to happen now. So So instead of being so tight up on this, trying to go like this and really scraping, I'm kind of loosening up my grip a little bit. And just lightly grazing. You can push the paint around, so if you get a big spot right there, maybe you just push it around a little bit and go like that. I think, if I think of another teaching moment, I will stop us, but I'm gonna keep going. So I'm simply just tracing, unless there's anything you can think of that. Is there any questions that you might have, Keenan? Because whenever you think something, it's always good because other people might be thinking the same thing. Since this is my first time using a paint pen. If you think of something.
I don't think so, because you rediscovered that you could switch the tip, and I would not have thought of that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it exploded on you, so that was like a bonus.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that happened so you guys can see, because that will happen. A question that I can anticipate coming up is, how do you store these pens? And
I do have a question.
Can you Google that actually for me?
Dang it, yes.
Sorry, what's your question?
How would you store these pens?
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say that for me, I store them straight up and down. And so I could be doing it wrong. I know that there's certain types of pen that the manufacturers suggest to store them horizontal, and these might be one of them. However, when I think about it, spray paint cans are standing up straight.
Yeah, and they've got a shaker in them, a ball, so it's like,
yeah.
the only thing you really have to worry about is if they clog.
I know, that's the one thing that I was thinking too, is that if it stays like this.
But if you can take the tip out, then it shouldn't be that hard to unclog.
I actually, now that I think about it, I store them with the tip up rather than the tip down, but that's just because I like to see the color of the tip, so it wasn't me being smart about it. And so that could be part of it, because if it is face down, it might get clogged. So we're gonna learn together. Did you find something?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I do have another tip actually. If anyone is worried about, so when I'm doing this, the palm of my hand might be creating a lot of fun, say side handprints, so I'm just going to use a paper towel, and that's going to be my buffer. Or you can use a piece of paper, but okay, go Keenan, sorry.
Posca markers can be stored horizontally or vertically. However, it is preferable to store the PCF 350 brush markers. I don't know if that's what we're using.
These come in brush markers.
Brush
they have
markers horizontally. Replace caps tightly after use. Store markers in a cool, dry place.
Yes, put the cap on. Some of mine, there are some brands that, I'm trying to think of which one specifically, but there are different brands of paint pens, and actually the gold, if you guys have our box, is Pintel. And so that one's a little bit different, but know that each of them kind of have their own personality. So sometimes they're a little bit more stubborn. These are really great, and I believe these ones are water-based. I don't really, but they're more kid-friendly, because the other ones are more, they smell. The paint smells a little bit, so it's suggested not to be around kids as much.
Because it's stinky?
Because it's stinky. Okay, here we go. Here's my teaching opportunity. I'm trying to do that. I don't know if they can see, but it kind of scraped into it. So I'm going to actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go over and fill in that little gap. I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to fill in that after. Because if it's still wet and I just kind of keep scraping into it, it's just going to make it worse. So I'm going to wait and do that. But I think we can fast forward.
Okay.
Unless you have anything.
Shove that thing to the right a little bit.
I keep moving.
Perfect.
Okay, go.
Go. Zoom on.
Oh, zoom on, I forgot. Okay, I am done with my white paint pen. You can add, if you want to add a pattern to it, or you can wait because I'm going to show you how to do the wash at the back. So this, you can either do this step, you can do these steps interchangeably where you might want to paint it first so then you can see where you want to letter it. But if you accidentally did that or you want to do that, the problem and why I don't do that is then you can't use this step of tracing and use your template because it'll be dark, so you won't see. So that's why we do this first, and then we're going to paint it after. So, taking my tape off. Oh, can they see that?
Yep, that looks good.
I love, so you also can just leave it. I love the way this looks, and if you try and photograph it, you might get yourself in the photo or whatever's behind it. But I think this is a beautiful look. Just for fun, I'm going to show you how you do it on the other side. Just make sure things aren't they're wet. And actually, is it okay that this is kind of low? Or I can try and avoid it.
Yeah, low is okay, except we don't see all the words.
So what I'm thinking of is that this might scratch. So I'm trying to avoid.
You can move the pan.
Yeah. Just move the tape. Okay. If I didn't say this before, this pan is here to avoid glare for everyone. Oh, okay, yeah. Is that good place spacing?
Yep.
Okay. So I am using acrylic paint. This has been sitting for a little while, so we'll see. It dried up a little bit. Meh.
Meh.
It still works. So I'm using a wide brush. You can also, if you just have any rounds, you can still do that. But I like using a wide because it can create bigger strokes. So you can take this however you want. You can do them up and down. You can do a fun cloud-like. But what I'm going to do and what I like to do, because you can look at this, and if you look at the edges, they kind of look like paint strokes. So to do that, let's say do it this way. Okay, I did it this way. Actually, I'll show the other way. I am going to simply draw strokes. So this is how I kind of learned to paint. If you want, you can also do strokes like this. But I learned to go back and forth. And for those of us who are just lettering and maybe you're not a part of the watercolor group, give it a try. Sarah's an awesome teacher and watercolors are super fun to paint with. But if you've just been doing lettering, you might have noticed that this grip is completely different. I'm not gripping it super tight and I'm not grounded onto the ground. I am actually more painting in the air. And this is such a free-flowing way of doing this. And for right now, we're not trying to make it perfect. We're just creating strokes back and forth. It's very satisfying.
It is very satisfying to watch.
So when I'm doing this, I get a good amount on here. So I'm not just getting a little bit, sorry I didn't warn you. It's helpful to get more. It's not like I want this much because if I do that, you'll see it creates a big glob like that. And if that does happen, it's okay, just use it and spread it out. So I am leaving a little bit of room on the edge. So I'm not going all the way. So again, I'm just going to get maybe a good amount, but not too much. And then maybe I need to check without getting paint all over me what that looks like. So when I'm looking at this, I think I can go a little bit further on the edge, and especially right here because my T is so much further out. I can add a little bit more here. So I'm just going to go a little bit further. Let's see, yeah, a little bit down here. So I'm just drawing little strokes. This really reminds me of Bob Ross when he would do.
You're gonna beat the devil out of it next.
What?
That's what he says. That's his favorite
He
part.
says that?
Yeah, that's his favorite when he
I just
cleans
think
the
of
brush.
Happy Little Accidents.
Oh, he beats the devil out of the brush, and he says that. It's so funny.
Oh. Dang. A little bit. Yeah. Okay. Let me show you guys. It's interesting. I made these a little bit more perfect than I did on this one, just so you could see the difference. And I also went the other direction just to show you. So all my paint strokes went this way, whereas on this one, all my paint strokes went this way. So that is one thing. The other thing I want to point out is if you look at this, this looks more like a navy blue, and this looks more like royal blue, right? This looks darker.
Yeah.
And so the reason why is that I went ahead and I did another layer. So we will actually need to wait a little bit. We're gonna pause and we'll be back. This needs to dry, because if I were to keep, even though this is wet right here, you can see, if I just kept going over it, it's not creating a layer on top of it. I'm kind of just moving the paint around. So I'm gonna wait and let this dry. If you have a hair dryer, if you're really in a bind, you can blow dry it, but I'm gonna do that in order to just do one more coat so you guys can see the difference. Well, that was a lot shorter of a wait than I anticipated. Does it look different?
Yeah, it looks totally different.
Okay, so it's dry. Yeah, so now, whoa.
Wait, what about that bottom right corner?
It's okay. Yeah, I do see that right here.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. It'll move it around a little bit.
It looks like it's changing colors.
It actually looks cool. You might, I don't know. You guys can decide. You might want to leave it with just one layer. But I'm going to show you is that this is what, oh!
Still wet.
No, my finger just, I mean, and it is the exact spot that you told me about.
Oh.
Meh. Work with it. Just gonna do a whole nother layer. So now it's okay, I'll go back over it. I don't think you'll be able to see it. I'm just gonna do a whole nother layer, and that will create a more solid color. I think we're gonna, well, I was thinking a few things. Is if you look here, I might leave a little bit of the layers and not perfectly go over it, so that when you look at this, you could see there's a little bit of that first layer and then you see the second layer. Because I don't want it to look so perfect that it looks like you bought it and it was just computer made. We're making it look like it was painted. Might need a little bit more. This goes perfectly with the quote because it's artistic. Maybe if you have two different colors, you do an ombre, or you do half in one color, half in the other.
I was thinking.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking red, white, and blue and do a patriotic thing.
Especially for you.
Because I'm pretty sure we have red on the website.
Yes. And I think we got white. I think I said
believe
white
we
and
did.
black. Huh?
I believe we did.
So we can do that. Okay. I think that might be good to go. Little flipperoo. Yeah. Well, you could see my, oh, that's my thumbprint. That's my signature. So yes, that's a lot darker. And there's a few spots maybe right there, but I'm actually going to leave it because I love it how it's a little bit imperfect. If when you're done and you see your fun fingerprints, you can either tell people that's your signature, because Keenan told you, it's your signature, or just really lightly use Windex or a Clorox wipe. Just don't, be careful and not to do it over your lettering. The other thing they want to say, I can talk to the camera now and display. Oh, because this is step 6. Display. Is this crazy reflection?
Yes and no. If you stop moving.
I was thinking it worse. If this is something that you might, it might get dinged a little bit. So I traveled with mine and it got scratched a little bit. The paint pens they're not like Sharpies where you can't scratch it off. This is the paint you might be able to scratch it off. So if you want to protect it, get a clear, I would suggest a clear matte spray. They also make gloss, but matte, to me, it's kind of personal preference. I just usually like matte, but just make sure it's a clear gloss. I usually just ask questions. So whenever I go in a Home Depot store, I just say, hey, I have either wood or I have a clear acrylic sheet. Maybe you bring it in, say, what do you suggest is the best for me to use? There's a few different brands, but they might know a little bit more than I do. But just get a clear matte spray, coat it, make sure you're a good amount of distance, because if you go too close, it might be a little bit bubbly. But you don't have to do that. If you will never touch it, it's okay. You don't have to do it. I think that's all I needed to say. I'm excited to see what you guys make. Tag us. Tag Keaton. This was one of my most favorite projects of this box. I was really excited to teach you guys because it's something that you might see on Pinterest, on the internet, and now you can make it and impress the people in your life. Hang this up in your home and hang it up loud and proud. So we have a Facebook group called Let's Make Art Lettering that if you're not a part of, go ahead and join. Show us, not submit it, post it there. And then we have a Instagram called Let's Go Make Art where you can tag us in that, use our hashtag, and all that fun stuff. Have fun. Bye.